Alright, so we are back with Maxwell Klinger in the Vell-os campaign. It is a lovely snowy day outside, so a perfect day to stay inside and play video games. So when we last left off, I believe we had just met with the Moash elders, and they had agreed to the Bureau of Internal Investigation's demands insofar as becoming a vassal state to the Bureau. And so now we just have to return to Commander Crane on New England, and that'll be that for this part of the campaign, or at least that'll be that for, I believe, the Moash part of the campaign. I think we just return with the response, and then there might be another quest or two, but I think then we move on to other things. We'll find out. Just stopping at a refuel. Alright. Which is weird, because I thought I did have enough to go all the way to New England right from Moash, but I guess I've remembered incorrectly. It's always fun to see a pirate carrier out and about. Airfort is a good place to buy equipment. I have no idea where Airfort is, and we only have 5 tons of free mass, so it's not really a important thing to keep in mind anyway. Alright. You were slightly surprised to sense the deceitful weavings of Commander Crane's mind awaiting you as you pilot your way down through New England's atmosphere. After dissolving your protective dart-shaped shield, you were greeted by the sight of her blonde hair and athletic figure. "So what do they say?" she asks quietly as she takes your arm and draws you out of earshot of the dock workers busily moving around the area. You give her a quick summary of the events of your trip, and she looks pleased. "Good work." Her cheeks dimple attractively as she smiles at you. "Our plans are proceeding nicely. I have a few things I have to take care of, so I'll probably be out of contact for a little while. But it shouldn't be too long before I need your services again. Keep an eye out in bars anywhere in the Federation. When I need you again, I'll find you." Alright, so we have a little bit of downtime, and we're not just going to immediately trigger it from that bar, which was a very real possibility. I've had that before. Very interesting that the pirate carrier would be here both times, but maybe it's a coded thing. But I think if anything, it would be a free trade carrier, not an association carrier. Because if you watch the pirate campaign, and I strongly encourage you to do so, you would know why that is an important distinction to make when dealing with the Bureau. Oh, a Starliner. So Starliners are kind of interesting because they're Sigma shipyard ships, and I believe they have special missions associated with them. They're like the cruise ship of the EV Nova world, and so you get special missions for ferrying people around in Starliners. Alright. Hey, yeah, that didn't take too long at all. In fact, she beat us to the system. Just one jump away. You can sense Commander Crane waiting for you just around the corner, and you cannot help but smile when you notice that nearly every male head in the bar keeps turning surreptitiously in her direction. Chuckling to yourself at their naivete, you make your way over to her. "How are things?" she asks with a radiant smile as you sit down opposite her. You shrug your shoulders, nonplussed. "Well, I'm glad I managed to catch up with you. Yeah, we only went one system away. You could have just told me on New England, as I have another mission that needs your skills. I need someone to take an encrypted message pod down to the Moash elders, containing instructions on what they should be doing in the coming months," she tells you in a lowered voice as she leans forward. "And right now, my resources are spread a little thin throughout the galaxy, so you're it." Alright then. The message details how you want them to organize several Auroran military expeditions into Federation space, she informs you quietly. "At first, this will be supposedly to gauge our strength, but following missions will supposedly be diversions to a main attack elsewhere. In reality," she explains quietly, "these raids will be made up of warriors, not of the Moash House, and we will be informed ahead of time of their arrival, and will be able to move entire fleets to meet them. The end result will be 4 severely weakened houses, which will be advantageous to both the Moash House and ourselves. The only reason I'm telling you this," she warns meaningfully, "is because the Moash elders might not open the message pod correctly, and if they don't, its contents will be vaporized. Once you've delivered the message," she tells you standing up, obviously preparing to leave, "return to New England, and I'll make sure that further instructions are left for you there." Alright, so another easy milk run. I don't even think they spawn any hostile ships when we do this. Oh, I totally saw... Yeah, he's been destroyed. There's a special... not developer ship. I think it was a joke about one of the developer's old bosses. He pilots a cargo drone, which is something that as a player you can't do, and it is aggressive to everyone, and so that's what just got blown up. Shame I couldn't hail him before, because I think he has an amusing message if you do. Alright. Oh, maybe there are hostile actions here, but luckily the Vell-os dart is pretty zippy. So we're just going to maneuver around and just go in a great big loop so they can't catch up with us. Alright. As soon as you land, you're greeted by a savagely tattooed Moash warrior who leaps at you in an effort to rip your throat out. You react by weaving the pattern of the spring flower that Lyral taught you, but you mistakenly force too much energy into it in your excitement. In an effort to keep the energy under control, you are forced to weave in a calming effect. You notice as you do that it almost resembles the warmth of the sun on your spring flower. You step over the remains of the warrior and quickly head up to the Moash council chambers and hand over the message pod to the old warrior at the table and step back, at the head of the table and step back. He manages to fumble his way through opening it without making any major mistakes and begins to scan the contents. After a few minutes, he looks up and thanks you for your delivery. Alright, so we don't even need to recite our message. As you walk back to the space dock, you continuously go over the fight in your mind, memorizing your actions. With a little practice, you think you should be able to duplicate its effects at any time. Alright, so nothing too exciting. This is just the next Vell-os weapon we get. We have the spring flower and we have the summer bloom. Maybe it's spring bloom and summer flower. I'll tab through them when we get back out into space. But one important note to make, and also what a lovely vignette, is that the Vell-os ships, because really they're not ships, they are just manifested psychic energy. If we buy another ship, we can always go back to our Vell-os ship at the cost of 0 credits. The downside to this is that the Vell-os ships are always worth 0 credits when traded in. But for the time being, the Dart is practical to our needs, and so really there's no reason to switch away from it. I think everything's, yeah, high price here because all of the... Oh, that's what I get for not paying attention. But look at that shield regen, it's insane. Okay, so we have Flower of Spring. I guess we get the summer one later. And it is just a simple beam attack. It's like it's drawn in MS Paint. But it's pretty devastating. I'm going to try to go down into normal speed, press R to target the ship closest to me, and we're going to try to take out this Phoenix with our Flower of Spring. If we end up getting destroyed, then, you know, so be it. Yeah, doesn't even stand a chance. Let's do another one, just because we can. Oh god, I've got to weave between these missiles. Alright, this is the problem, is we've run out of energy. Our regen is fast enough that I'm not really concerned about that. You can always kind of like wait a couple seconds and use it again, or you can get kind of this strobing effect. You just hold down the control key to fire it when you don't have enough energy. But let's just go back up to ×2 speed and just get out of here when we regen, because I think I've proved that the Vell-os weapons are ridiculously destructive, which this is the weakest of the 4. They're each named after a season. So you have the, let's see, Flower of Spring, something is summer, the Autumn Petal, I think, and then you like Winter Tempest. One of them is a tractoring beam, so it actually tracks to the ships, which I'll show more later. It's like a turret for any other ship. And that one is, I think that's the Winter's Tempest, and that was ridiculously good. I believe way back when I was playing this game for the first time, the first planet domination I did was with a Vell-os Javelin, just because it had that attack. It has a lot of staying power too, because it doesn't use any ammunition. Alright. You're met by the soldier who is normally your contact in the bar, who draws you aside. Commander Crane is currently detained doing other things in the moment, he explains seriously, and you sense that he has no idea as to her current whereabouts. She wanted me to tell you that she will need your talents again in the near future, when the plans you delivered to the Moash start coming to fruition. So keep an eye out in bars. If we need your help again, that's where we will make contact. The soldier claps his hand on your shoulder. Tongue-tied today. The soldier clasps his hand on your shoulder, nods, and walks away, quickly disappearing into the crowd. You notice after the fact that he seems to have the ability to blend into crowds and be completely inconspicuous, even though he wears the very distinctive uniform of a Federation naval officer. You sense that he is simply doing something he was taught many years ago and has done many times since. Alright. Cool, cool, cool. So let's see if we just immediately get it again. We don't. I don't think we can, yeah, we can't buy any outfits for the Dart just because it's not a ship. But that does kind of take some of the fun out of the game if you can't outfit your ship. Another Association carrier class ship here. Manticore are nice just because they're, they have tractor beams on them. And as I've explained in the past, there's a glitch in this game where multiple multiple, what do you call it, iterations of the same weapon, if they all fire on a pulse basis and they all sync up as a tractor beam would, you don't get a benefit from having more than one. But if you fix that glitch, Manticore have, I think, 8, so they're really crazy. They can just tractor beam down any ship almost immediately. Well, seeing as we're not getting the prompt to do our stuff, let's do a little bit of essentially horse racing with Vipers here. Let's go ahead and go for blue, and it plays this lovely little movie, which is here telling us we lost because red came in first, and so we lose a little bit of credits. It's just a neat little diversion, and I think someone put in for fun. But let's oh wow, I have 1.09 million credits. When did that happen? Let's hire some escorts and do some commodity runs, just because it would be nice to make this the run where we get the Kestrel ship, because apparently the Kestrel is well suited to becoming a Vell-os powerhouse. And because if we don't like it, then of course we can just switch back to a regular ship for 0 credits, and it will be outfitted how we like, because really you can't outfit Vell-os ships. They just kind of are as they are. So I think that's a good plan. Can we get another one here? Yes, we can. Oh, I think it's the H key to hire. Yeah. Actually, no. I was going to say, if we can get more than one, there's really no reason not to at this point. You can also press Shift B to buy a specified number of commodities, if you don't want to just hold down B to buy them like I do. This isn't really practical for the low cargo capacities we're dealing with now, but if I get up to the point where we're dealing with millions of tons, then yeah, it's helpful. Or rather, thousands of tons is more realistic, perhaps. I can just show you. Oh, like I thought it was Shift, but I guess it's not. It doesn't matter. I'll figure it out. It's not of pressing concern for this campaign, seeing as we really have all the credits we need for this campaign, because you don't need any credits for the Vell-os campaign. It's a very beginner-friendly campaign. Or storyline, I suppose I should say. I'm used to using grand strategy terminology, so campaign is what comes to mind. Let's hire another escort. We can just start snowballing this. Oh wow, even get multiple discounted ones. That's what I'm talking about. And let's make it a fleet. Excellent, 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 excellent. And now we just have to make sure not to bankrupt ourselves. We are more than good, and look at that. So this does a good job of highlighting the benefit of having a small ship with slow escorts, is that they will move at the same rate that we do. The exception of this is they won't always jump into space at the same time we do, but they will generally move at the same rate that we do. So if you want to have really, really big ships like carriers as your escort, and then fly a really zippy ship, like, for example, a Polaris Mantis, that is a really solid strategy, because you've all the maneuverability of the Mantis and all the firepower of 6 Ravens, or 6 carriers. But I'll get into all that when we finally do the Polaris campaign, which is probably going to be how we cap off the 6 storylines. I'll probably end with the Polaris one, or the Federation one. I haven't decided yet. They are both they're both suitable endings in their own right. Let's put it that way. All right, good stuff. And we'll check the bar back at Seoul to see if Commander Crane is ready for us yet. I don't even know if you can actually do other storylines while you're doing the Vell-os one. Like, it'd be nice to do the terraforming the planet or something that would just give us something to do. But I think because of the whole mind control thing, we're limited to just doing the main story. Which, while a bit of a shame, it does mean that you can usually burn through it pretty fast. Also, what I like is you have Nurse Secundus here, and you have Nurse Primus up here. I don't think there's a Nurse Tertius, but I don't know. Must be a reference to something. Maybe those are actually real star systems. I know that a couple of these are, but there are also apparently several really lame jokes. One of the creators, Matt, oh, I can't remember his last name now. Anyway, he did a stream with someone who was a fan of the Escape Velocity series, and he went through the 3 games. And for EV Nova, he mentioned that, oh, we made all these stupid jokes back when we were making it because at the time the internet wasn't really a thing, and so no one was going to find them all. And of course, fast forward to now, is you just look at a list of all the silly jokes. Hard to imagine that, you know, this came out before the internet was really a big thing, or as ubiquitous as it is today. Alright, we'll do one more run, and then maybe we'll try to tech up to a larger escort. I'm thinking Leviathans. But I don't know if you're actually allowed to hire escort Leviathans before you have Sigma Shipyard clearance, because after all, it is a Sigma Shipyard heavy freight ship. But I guess we'll find out. Alright, so sell these off. And, you know, if we get the prompt from the main storyline, of course we're going to just do that instead. But, nope. That is fine by me. I find the commodity trading to be rather relaxing. Alright. It is kind of insane how one of the best trade routes in the game is taught to you in the tutorial. But, hey, what can you do? Alright. Sell these off. Cross your fingers. No. So let's ditch one of these terrapins. If I was really being optimal, I would try to get the one that is a non-used terrapin to leave. But, you know, I'm not going to worry about that much. And now we're just going to try to get some heavier freight ship to spawn in the bar. Though we might not get it. It might be a Sigma Shipyard's requirement, which would be really unfortunate because, of course, we're losing money every time we take off and land. 1 day passes, so we pay the daily rate for all of our ships. But if that's the case, that's the case. Can't do anything about it. Yeah, it seems to be. Alright. In that case, we'll start checking out the shipyard as well and see if we can pick up the Sigma Shipyard stuff. Alright, so back to our route for medical goods. It would be kind of silly to do the Sigma Shipyard's route for a Vell-os pilot, but if we're going to be tricking out a Kestrel, then it would be nice to get the Sigma Shipyard's upgrades, certainly. And because they don't lead into any major storyline, I don't think we should be locked out of Sigma Shipyards. Maybe. I say that maybe, because it does kind of interact with the Rebellion, but I don't know. I think we should still be eligible for it. Alright. It'd be really nice to get one of these Pegasus, even, as an escort ship, because if you take a look, the Pegasus is composed of 6 of these cargo units, and the Terrapin is literally just one of those cargo units with a little head on it. So I think it carries just strictly 6 times the amount of a Terrapin. I think it's 600, as opposed to the, what, 100 or so that the Terrapin has. And it even says so in their info blurb. So we go into the cargo 95. And I think it even tells you here that carries 1 whole standard cargo pod segment. And it's 125 for the non-used version, because it doesn't have any mass to ton conversion or anything. Oh, so these are special missions we get for being a Vell-os. They are people who want to go to Goliath, probably because that is a Vell-os, like a Vell-os ruins system. And they will pay us a premium to travel on a Vell-os craft, which would be our Vell-os Dart. Which is, you know, kind of neat, gives something to do if you're looking to do some of those runs. But because we are not prevented from getting escorts, I don't see any reason to do that over trading, just because trading has a much better return on it. Now, if we really want to be silly, there's actually an even better trade route than this one. And that's because it takes place entirely in one system. There is some oversight that, for whatever reason, in Polaris space, there is a system which contains 3 stations, or 2 stations in a planet. And the planet and the station, they have essentially a trade route between them, because on one you can buy, I think, a lower priced metal and sell it for medium at the station. And so you're only taking the hit of 1 day to take off from the station or the planet. And so you can get these ridiculously big cargo ships in Polaris space. And through doing that, you can just get ridiculous amounts of credits by going back and forth. I believe this was patched out in what might be the last patch before they stopped doing patches. But this version that I'm playing does still have it in the game. So we could go and do that. Again, I don't think it's strictly necessary for the Vell-os. If we want to, if we're getting to the end of the campaign and we don't have enough money for the Kestrel, that might be a good alternative as opposed to doing this, because you can buy the really, really heavy freight ships in Polaris space without any kinds of license, unlike trying to get the Leviathan escorts here without a Sigma shipyards clearing. So that might be an alternative. It's pretty obvious we're getting to the end of the campaign, so we're not going to worry about that until it's within sight. But after we touch down on Earth here, let's take one of those, ride in a Vell-os ship missions, just because this is not the most engaging content, I'm sure, to watch me ferry back and forth in New Ireland. But trust me, it is important. Let's release him. No, not you. So, you can actually upgrade your escorts, but I think that's only really worth doing for escorts that you own, just because I believe it also raises their cost per day. Alright. They want to go to Thor, and they want to go to Lotus. I think we want to go to Lotus instead. Thor is in the Jeff John system, and if you watch the pirate campaign, you know that's full of pirates. That's where I like to hunt for ships. We could go and hunt some pirates, and, with this ship, the problem won't be destroying the pirates. That'll be pretty easy. The problem will be disabling them, because just the Flower of Spring even does so much damage. It would be difficult to not absolutely destroy them. Alright. The Passions are left a little bug-eyed when you dissolve your protective shielding, leaving them standing on the dock. They pay you the fee of 15,000 credits and walk away, talking animatedly amongst themselves. You smile, sensing they're heading to the local bar to spread stories of their time on a Vell-os quote-unquote ship. Alright, and apparently that was all we needed to have Commander Crane come and find us. As soon as you walk in, you spot the beautiful Commander Crane sitting at a table, trying to fend off an unwanted male suitor. You make your way over quickly in hopes that you can discourage him enough so that Crane will forget about the incident and let him live. Oh dear. There you are, she exclaims, smiling, before turning back to the man. I'm sorry, but my business associate has arrived. We must speak in private. Could you excuse us for a moment? The man takes one long look at you before nodding, slightly sullenly, and heading back to the bar to buy a drink. Your hope sinks when you see Crane filing the incident away to be dealt with after you leave. He's lucky you turned up when you did, she informs you idly, and you laugh. Or icily, and you laugh. She shakes off her bad mood. I have another message that needs to go to Moash. That means you get to play courier again. Fine by me. The message inside the pod contains details on the next stage of our operation, she explains quietly. We want the Moash house to step up the raids into our space and begin amassing an armada of their own. As preordained time detailed in the message you'll be carrying, a Federation force will be attacked by the Moash and destroyed. Public opinion will be inflamed and war will be declared. An enormous Federation fleet will head down into Auroran space in response and will begin running amok. But only selectively so. The end result will be the destruction of the other 4 major houses, and then the remaining survivor, being the Moash house, will sue for peace, and we will grant it. Again, I'm only telling you this, she reminds you seriously, in case the Moash elders do not open the message pod correctly. Return to New England when you're done, she tells you dismissively. You look over at the would-be suitor. Don't worry about him, she continues quietly. He'll be taken care of. Alright, you crazy, psychotic woman. No commodities here that I can sell. So, oh, actually, Serenity, I think, gives us a hint as to... never mind. Oh, wait, no, it does. So it gives us a hint to why the Moash space is as it is. So in the vignette, in the description of the vignette here, it says, Serenity is the center for the expatriate Japanese people of the Federation. While most emigrants from Japan went to the Galactic South and into the Colonial Council territories that now form the Auroran Empire, many stayed in the bounds of the core worlds. Serenity cities are formed around the precepts of building contemplative gardens and Shinto temples. Although the effect is different when modern building technology is thrown in as well, the overall effect is quite pleasing, if a little overdone. Many financial institutions have their main offices here, and Serenity is a rich planet because of them. So that's kind of why the Aurorans are like feudal space Japan. It's because apparently that's where all the expatriates went. And that is the vibe they are going for. So we're going to head to Nurse Secundus and refuel before we head down to the Moash space and keep going. I swear, sometimes piloting the dart is a little bit of a headache. Can we get anything low for trade here? We can get low metal, which I could sell in Moash space, but there are no escorts at all, so I guess we're not going to worry about it. But if you can, you should always try to, make good trades when you can. If you know if you're going to a main Auroran homeworld, if you can pick up anything for a low price besides a specialty item, you can sell it for a ridiculous profit there. So they're going to be, yep, they're going to be people who are mad at us. So we're just going to loop around. If you actually fly, I'll show you, but if you fly to the very edge of the system, it just loops around to the other side. So keep an eye on that gray arrow up in the upper right-hand corner. That's indicating where the main planets are. And we'll just keep flying left, keep flying left, keep flying left. It's pointing right. Can't get it going due left because the dart controls a little bit sporadically. There we go. Now it's pointing left because we've just looped all the way around. And this is kind of a cheesy way. If you really can't get through a blockade, do this because the other ships get a little bit confused. They tend to think you're still to the left of the galactic core or the system core, and they don't really know what to do. So we can actually just wait around for them to come back, and they eventually will. But we're not gonna waste time. As you pilot your way to your destination, you find yourself exploring the nature of the device attached to the nape of your neck. After several days, you learn it works by influencing the part of your brain that controls repetitive actions or actions that become second nature. The end result is that if you realize that if you become skilled enough, you could simply bypass this portion of your brain, and you would be free to remove the device. You find yourself wondering how the device works on T1s like Lyral, who are more than skilled enough to do exactly this. Upon landing, you hand over the message pod to the same old warrior as last time, and watch him open it. After taking a few minutes to scan the contents, he turns to you and thanks you for your services. After returning to the landing pad, you quickly reform your protective shell and launch yourself into space. You find yourself becoming excited at the thought that one day you might be free. Yep. Hopefully. And we're just gonna weave between the railgun fire here, because that is the really benefit of Vell-os ships is they're fast. They are just fast, and their shielding is really, really good. Plus, the jump speed is almost instantaneous. They don't have to do that weird turning all the way around and then turning back. I always think about like dogs. If they want to like lay down on the couch, they have to turn all the way around, and then turn all the way around back, and then lay down. It's kind of what all the ships have to do if they want to do hyper jumps. But not the Vell-os. They can just go right for it. And I think that's true for any inertialess ships. I would have to check on some of the Polaris ships, which also lack inertia, but I think that might be the case. Okay. Upon landing on New England, you are once again met by the soldier who is normally your contact in the bar. He quickly draws you aside. A new situation has arisen, he explains urgently, and Commander Crane is currently looking into it. She wants you to keep an eye out in bars around the place, as that's where she will make contact with you when she needs you. The soldier jovially clasps his hand on your shoulder and shakes his finger at you with a smile before ruffling your hair and moving away, saying he will see you later tonight. Anyone watching would have thought an exchange was between two old friends meeting for the first time in a long while. You smile at his disappearing back and shake your head in keeping with the charade, while letting your mind slip into thoughts of freedom. Alright, we do not just get the immediate bar, so let's see if there's anywhere fun we can go just with these missions. Sandown isn't actually that far away, but Georgia is even closer, so we're going to accept the Georgia one. Just hit A to accept. Eventually all the keybinds, the shortcuts become second nature. And they really need to if you're going to have a fleet, because there's like a whole tree of menus to manage what you want your fleet to do. And for that, you need to know some hotkeys, because there's no real way to do it with the mouse or anything. Oh, you want a taste? That can be arranged. Oh, gonna run away. Fair enough. Don't know why he was angry at us. Ahoy there. Ahoy, ahoy. My fellow Vell-os in servitude. Alright, land on Georgia. Same little spiel as before, that they're happy that they got to fly in a Vell-os craft, and they're going to head off to the bar to talk about it. Ah, Verna ice lizard pelts. Let's go get some of those, because I think that'll be kind of fun. They are from a section of space, which is off in the kind of north... Oh, wait, we have a derelict. Kind of northeast. And it's the most remote part of the Federation, and they farm ice lizard pelts, so we're going to go get some. For whatever reason, we cannot rescue derelicts in a Vell-os ship, probably because we're not allowed to take non-approved missions, and that, for some reason, is classified as one. So, alright, we'll just take the credits and go. Ooh, before I forget, we actually need to have escort ships to carry this cargo, otherwise this will be an... Ooh, never mind, we don't have to wait in a bar, we're just going to get ambushed by Lyral, and I think taught how to make the Vell-os javelin. Or is that the arrow? I think that's the arrow. They're all named after various projectiles. You sense Lyral observing you as you glide your way into dock, and you send out a small weave to acknowledge his presence. I see that you've learned to create summer bloom. It took the Vell-os nearly 7 centuries to learn that, and you've done well. Perhaps it is time... Ugh. I feel like he's missing punctuation. Did they not use punctuation when he's doing the mind thing? Yeah, alright. I see you've learned to create summer bloom. It took the Vell-os nearly 7 centuries to learn that. You have done well. Perhaps it is time that you learned to better protect yourself against the hostile elements and/or intelligences of the universe. Come watch. So yeah, they don't do punctuation. I never noticed that before. They also don't do capitalization on their eyes. Just makes it really kind of janky to read, especially when I'm already dealing with very small text. You follow his intelligence as it dances out of the surrounding space and begins weaving a shell which you can quickly recognize as being a Vell-os arrow, and within moments you grasp the basics of it. When he sees that you've understood the lesson, he returns to his body. You have definitely proven yourself to be a T2. I think that it will not be long before you reach T1. As I have, your strength and skill is growing, and it will not be long before you rival even me. So, you know, big words of praise from him, and look at just the disparity between... This is what we had in the Dart. Way more shields, way more hull, that's hull strength, and even energy. So we could just barely make it from Sol down to Moash. We can now do a lot more than that, which is good because we'll need to fire any of our weapon systems. They all require energy as fuel. So you shake your head as you finally dissolve the protective barriers around you and make your way over to where Lyral is standing. But you realize you have picked up everything he has taught you in a matter of moments, and that the new weaves he has just shown you were not that difficult to follow, nor is the energy required difficult for you to create. You may yet prove the one that will lead us to our freedom. Do not worry, you are not far from your own freedom, but our freedom will require more effort on your part. He stands and nods his head in recognition at your prowess before moving off into the crowds milling in the space dock. Commander Crane is waiting for you in the Kane bar as we speak. I suggest you meet with her. Alright, so we will meet with Commander Crane as soon as we start the next video. But for now, let's do a little bit of flying around in our new Vell-os arrow. So, it is a little bit slower than the Vell-os Dart. The turn is not as smooth. You can actually kind of see that it's a little bit choppy. I believe that it is actually just the ship and not the game, because you can see the asteroids and the other ships are moving just fine, but for some reason the turn is just not quite as smooth. So we can also show off the summer bloom, which I guess is also a tracking thing. I admit the graphics for the Vell-os weapons are definitely not, well, they're just not that good. It's just the line tool. It's the line tool from any image editor. It's kind of disappointing. But hey, I guess how else you can represent telepathic energy, if not the oh so holy line tool. Alright, so we're going to call it here for this episode. Thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking the video, leaving a comment, or subscribing if you want to see more. So, Have a good one.